My fiance doesn't want me to call him daddy anymore.
Understandable.
I feel like this could be for a kink-related episode, so I decided to share here. To start off, I know this isn't everyone's thing, that many people find it weird and gross, but don't yuck my yum, y'all. Not safe for work. My fiance, 27 male, and I, 26 female, met about 3 years ago, and early in on our relationship, I was very open about being into soft DDLG.
Google. DDLG is daddy dom / little girl, a sexual relationship where the dominant male is the daddy figure and a woman plays the role of a young girl.
So, as she said, she's very open about being into the DDLG dynamic. I say soft because I'm not into the age play or anything. Again, if that's your yum, good for you. But I just like being called a good girl and being owned / the power dynamic of it. While it was something that was new to him, he embraced it in many aspects of our lives since we moved in together pretty quickly. To give you an idea, it was stuff like him holding my face and asking, in quotes, "Are you going to be a good girl?" and do the dishes, get him water, turn off the lights, change my attitude, etc. And I'd reply, "Yes, daddy." Feels rude when I say it. Or he'd ask me, "What are you going to be?" And I'd reply, "You're a good girl." Other times, if I really wanted something, I could give him the cute face and say, "Please, daddy." And he'd oblige. Or when he could tell I had a rough day, he'd say, "Come here, good girl," and scoop me up into his lap. And I'd just melt into him and it would fix everything. All to say, it was a pretty big part of our relationship, sexually and otherwise. You could say it's a 24/7 kink, but calling him daddy became interchangeable for baby. But this last month, after a lot of turmoil, which included the stress of moving across the state, letting my temper get the best of me. He wasn't blameless in this, I'm just owning my part, and almost breaking up. I went to call him daddy and he very coldly said, "I don't want you to call me that anymore." And when I pressed a little harder, he said, "It just doesn't feel right. It's not our dynamic anymore," which honestly hurt a lot. Our sweet thing, something that brought us a lot of connection, is done. On top of that, the wedge that our rough patch created between us.
Ooh.
We haven't really been intimate for the past month or so, except for once last week, despite my attempts, and when we were, it kept slipping out. Every time, I'd get in my head like, in quotes, "No, don't do that. He doesn't like that. Stop it. Think of another name. Baby. Just say baby." And I'd take myself out of feeling good, which made me realize that this might go beyond a want for me. I can't imagine doing it without it. It was very lackluster. I took the move and the new year as an opportunity to change a lot of habits, including starting therapy, which he has said he would join me for, but had no desire to go to couples therapy or to his own therapist. We have done premarital counseling, which I highly recommend, by the way, but we didn't get very far into it between our very different schedules and then having to move suddenly. I'm hoping the desire to interact in that way will come back as we get better, but it just hurts, as silly as that sounds. Any advice? Have you gone through something similar? How did it go?
This is a lot because I feel like their fight that they had has honestly created such a rift in their relationship. And I feel like for someone to buy in for the past 3 years of participating in this kink, it feels like he's now changing on her and saying, "I don't want to do this anymore," as like almost a punishment.
Mm-hmm.
I could understand if you weren't into it from the beginning, but you guys have like built your whole relationship on almost this bit, which a lot of people have bits in their partnerships. Like, I think every couple needs a bit to be healthy. And I also have a problem with the fact that he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll go to therapy," but then refuses couple therapy and individual. So I'm getting like a lot of mixed signals of like, I don't know, to me, it feels like he's checking out.
I think you'll find this edit interesting. Edit, since everyone is curious what made me lose my cool. When we found out we needed to move, I wasn't given a date for when we were moving. My fiance just kept telling me mid-December. After several weeks of checking in for a better timeline, I decided on a day at the end of my work quarter for my notice and the easiest transition out, giving my job 3 weeks to hire someone and have me train them. When my fiance went to our new location to scout out and land a job, he got back, put in his 2 weeks notice, and told me we were moving XYZ day, which was a few days before my last day. So I told him that wouldn't work. He stopped showing up to work after a week and tried to have me stop showing up for work also, to pack / move up our move date. But I felt that it was a bad decision because I hadn't gotten a job job yet, and it showed lack of integrity. On top of this, his version of packing was very different from my own, which caused us a lot of stress during the weeks leading up to the move. He'd pack things that we needed on a daily basis. I'd say something like, let's leave the artwork on the walls till the end because it's big and delicate. The next day, it would be down, and I'd be scolded for leaning other artwork against the larger ones, dimpling the canvas. And I was constantly being told that I wasn't doing enough, being generally belittled, told things like that I didn't matter to my job, that I'm not important.
Come on.
It was death by 1,000 cuts. So when I came home one day to find a bunch of stuff that he, in quotes, didn't know what it was, which it was gifts for people that I collect slowly for Christmas, and they were all thrown away by the dumpster. Yeah. And other trash bags full of other things like my Bibles, journals, and shoes inside the door.
Dump him. Done.
I was upset. When I confronted him, he said, in quotes, well, you weren't here to pack. So if you wanted it, you should have packed.
Leave my shit, pack yours. It will be fine.
So he was offering digging through garbage for my stuff as a solution, which, of course, he wasn't going to help. So I lost it. I cried and I called him names. I threw my Bible at him since he might need to read it, being Christian and acting the way he was. And of course, I was overreacting, but it deeply hurt me and my faith.
Absolutely. This is done.
She continues, so yeah, I acknowledge that I may have a bit of a temper that went unchecked.
No, you do not.
With added stress, and that I could work on my communication/attachment style, and I got myself into therapy. I can see that I'm better for it. Who wants to get that way? Not me.
Your therapist might be dropping hints and asking you questions to get the wheels turning that your boyfriend might be a little abusive.
Sounds like it could be a...
Holy shit. Am I the asshole for not letting my mother-in-law and father-in-law help me with the baby after their reaction to me being injured? I, 21 female, have a 7-month-old son with my boyfriend. My family lives abroad and are coming to stay and help over Christmas time. For now, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, 60s, Deborah and Bob, are helping me with household stuff and the baby. So far, we haven't had any real issues, and they've been a massive help. About 3 weeks ago, I fell down the stairs. I wasn't holding the baby and the baby was safe. However, instead of helping me, Deborah and Bob both jumped to comfort the baby, who was crying, and left me at the bottom of the stairs. My legs were fine, but I was wobbly because of the shock and asked one of them to help me up. After nearly 10 whole minutes of being ignored, I managed to stand up on my own and hobble through to the living room. I sit down and Deborah says, quote, what happened to you? Are you okay? I'll admit, I saw red. I just said, I fell down the stairs. Didn't you hear me calling you for help? Deborah's eyes widened, and she said she was too busy fussing over the baby. After an hour, my arm was swelling up, and I was taken to the hospital. Luckily, it was nothing serious, and recovery time would be quick. After my boyfriend got home and his parents left, I told him I no longer want their help after today's events. I can manage on my own, even though it'll be hard. He was taken aback and said they've done a lot for us. I said I appreciated it all, but they ignored me crying and calling them for help for 10 minutes after I fell down the stairs. They didn't care about me, only the baby, and I was embarrassed I didn't see it sooner. He called his parents to let them know we wouldn't need their help anymore, and his dad said, quote, is it about today? We really didn't hear her. My boyfriend just told them they're invited to the Sunday roast this week, and that's all. I could tell he was not happy about my decision, but he said he went along with it because I'm the mother.
That's good.
Fast forward to Sunday, and my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are guests as well. Sister-in-law has a 3-year-old and is totally on my side, but brother-in-law is not. He told me to, quote, be grateful to his parents for their support, as they're significantly more well off than my parents. And paid for many newborn/infant expenses and plan to pay for many more as the baby grows. Since then, Deborah keeps calling, asking if we need any help, and says she feels awful not seeing the both of you and that she misses the baby. Am I the asshole for not wanting them helping me in my day-to-day life? Am I the asshole for telling my mom and aunt they can't be at the hospital for the birth of our daughter over a cake recipe. My 40 male, very pregnant wife, 36 female, is one of the purest women I know. She doesn't have a mean or malicious bone in her body. My mother and my aunt are second-generation immigrants, as my grandmother and grandfather met in a concentration camp during World War II and were liberated and came to America. Because of this, they have developed a close bond. Both my maternal grandparents have long been deceased. Now, down to the story. My wife bakes on the side, and my family asks her to bake for them all the time. They pay her, and they get their baked goods. My mom and aunt have asked my wife to recreate my grandma's carrot cake recipe on many occasions. My wife has done this down to perfect detail, and even my mom and aunt have said it might be better than my grandma's. Now, down to what caused me to blow up. My aunt was having a birthday party at her work and asked my wife to bake 24 cupcakes. After the party, my aunt said, "They were a hit and probably your best batch yet, but did you change something in the recipe? They were lighter and even more moist than the last couple of times you made them for us." My wife responded, quote, "Nope, followed the recipe on my fridge as I always do." Aunt, "No, I know my mom's cupcakes and you have made them perfectly before. This time, you had to have used a different recipe or ingredient. Did you use cake flour this time?" Wife, "No, this is even the same bag of flour I used the last time." Aunt, "No, I know you did something this time. I know my mom's recipe and this is not her recipe." I told my wife to drop it as it was going nowhere and was starting to irritate her. My mom texted us later, quote, "What did you do to the cupcakes? We want to know so that the next time we make them, we know what to do to make them taste just as good." My wife responded with everything she had said before. I told my mother to drop it, that she just read the recipe and went with it, as she always does. A few days later, I caught my wife staring at the recipe on the fridge, reading the recipe and asking out loud what she possibly could have done different this last go around. I could see she was upset, so I messaged my mom and aunt that they needed to apologize to her because they ultimately were calling my wife a liar.
This is so dramatic.
Pretty peculiar, right?
Yeah. I forgot that that's what the theme we were going with, and I was like, this is fucking weird. And then I was like, oh yeah.
My mom, quote, "We didn't say those words. That's rude and upsetting. You would think we're calling her a liar. Apologize to us." During this back and forth, my wife had made the comment to me that she would be okay if they weren't at the hospital during the birth of our child. After a little bit of back and forth of me being what I feel gaslighted by them saying they are not calling my wife a liar, I said, quote, "Well, until you can apologize to her for calling her a liar, don't visit the hospital when she gives birth. We are not telling you the day we're going in for delivery until you do."
What is going on?
This set a chain of events off in my family. My sisters agree with me, but my mom, aunt, and their friends have reached out saying I crossed a line. Even my wife has said that it's a little extreme. But when she's asked to talk to me about it, she says she does respect the decision. So Reddit, am I the asshole? I keep being told it's petty to have this much of a blow up over a cupcake recipe, but I feel that it's disrespectful to my wife. She says she's not that upset, but as I said above, I catch her reading the recipe on the fridge and talking to herself about it throughout the days. I don't want my mom and aunt's behavior to continue through to our daughter, and I fear that they may do something similar to her down the line. This is how they've always been.
That's what I was just about to say. I was like, this sounds like it's a deeper rooted issue for him that he's experienced with his family before.
I made this cake. I tried it. OP posted the recipe, and me and my grandma made this cake.
I didn't connect those dots.
This is the best carrot cake I have ever had.
I remember her saying that.
I would agree.
It's the best carrot cake I've ever had. It was incredible. It was moist, but not overly wet.
Oh my God,
wasn't
so many people are
dry.
gonna be mad at you for saying that
Overly
word.
wet.
Am I the asshole for telling my sister it's gold digging money she's borrowing from me? Not in the US. I, 33 female, have a sister, Sarah, 36 female. Sarah has always been good at studying and is our parents' pride and joy. She got into a very good university's engineering program on full scholarship and had a nice job offer upon graduation. We were all really proud of her. In comparison, I was a mediocre student. I got into a less prestigious university studying something Sarah said to our parents, quote, won't get me a good job. But my parents helped me pay my tuition nevertheless, though I had to work for spending money and other expenses. Through work, I met my now husband. He is from a family of generational wealth with their own business. We married when I graduated, and my sister said she was very disappointed in me for being a gold digger and that we women should not rely on a man's money to get ahead in life. Sarah left her company at 30 to start her own business with her now husband. The business was doing well until the pandemic. They struggled, but managed to keep their business together until this year.
There it is.
Sarah confessed to our parents that she needs a large amount of money to keep her business afloat. My parents suggested she borrow from me. Now, I do have the amount of money Sarah needs. My husband heads his family company and gives me spending money every month in addition to a credit card he takes care of. I don't work. My days are spent looking after our 2 sons and, for a few days a week, keeping his mom company. She's a lovely lady who's still very active and enjoys taking me places. Every time we go out, she foots the bill. So I do have a lot of money saved. Sarah and her husband approached me in private a few days ago. They asked to borrow money from me with a detailed plan on how to pay me back, though, with much lower interest than from a bank and a contract. Here's why I may be the asshole. I wrote them a check, and as I handed it to her, I looked her in the eyes and said, quote, you do realize you're borrowing my gold digging money, right?
I like it.
Sarah went red in the face before she immediately got up and walked away. Her husband looked a little awkward, but finally took the check and mumbled his thanks and left. Later, my mom called me and said I was being cruel to Sarah in her hard time, that there was no need to humiliate my sister like that.
No, it was necessary.
I simply told my mom she never said anything when Sarah called me a gold digger, so she has no say in the matter now. I still wonder if I'm the asshole.
Okay, whatever. It wasn't the nicest thing to do, but
karma?
I like it.
I like it.
I mean, you're pointing out she owes you an apology, and you're helping her out without getting an apology, so you get to play around with her a little bit, my opinion.
You could have said no and said, I didn't think you'd want my gold digging money.
Yeah.
And then not even help her.
Yeah.
You're helping her.
Yeah.
Was it a snide comment as you handed the check? Yeah.
Yes.
But you are doing them a massive, massive favor.
Right. And what she said to you is really inappropriate.
I'm really surprised that the sister didn't preemptively say, I want to apologize for what I said.
Exactly. That's my point, is that, sure, it wasn't the sweetest comment, but I'm here for something like that because she's pointing out, you were really mean to me with the decision that I made, and now you're coming and asking me for help without acknowledging that you were really mean to me.
Am I the asshole for refusing to do a portrait for my boyfriend, leaving him without a wedding gift? I do digital portraits, mostly as a hobby, but I've gotten a few commissions here and there. A while ago, my boyfriend and I were hanging out with mutual friends, and my boyfriend suggested in front of everyone that I do a portrait as a gift for someone's upcoming birthday. While it was a little annoying to be volunteered by him, I did think it was a good idea and went ahead and did it. The next time a birthday in the group came up, my boyfriend made the same suggestion. And as a result, quote, the birthday portrait has kind of become my thing. My boyfriend will get something small as his gift since he views the portrait as being from us. The part where I may be the asshole is that I haven't told him explicitly to stop volunteering me for these portraits. It is my fault for going along with the birthday thing for our friends without saying anything, but I kind of assumed that he would at least keep these requests within the realm of common sense. Well, his college buddy is getting married, and my boyfriend told him that I would make him a portrait of him and his bride as a wedding gift. I have never even met this person. To make matters worse, he apparently made this promise weeks ago, but only told me about it today, and the wedding is this Saturday. 4-day notice. I finally lost it at him and told him that I'm not his personal portrait sweatshop, and that he only does this because he's a cheapskate, and it gets him out of spending any money on a gift, even though it costs me a lot of time. He argued back that a bespoke portrait is so much better than just buying something off of the registry, that it's a generous thing for me to do. It helps build my portfolio, and that I don't get very many paid commissions anyways. For the record, I don't get many paid commissions because I don't charge peanuts for them. I have a full-time job, so I price according to what it would be worth giving up that amount of free time that it takes me. He told me that I put him in a really difficult position, that he hyped up the portrait, and they were both really looking forward to it. He said, please just do this one and I won't ask again. I said no, I don't even know these people, so this is not my problem. He looked up a couple of portrait artists online, but none of them were willing to do the piece on a short turnaround he needed at the quality he wanted and at a price he was willing to pay. He even tried using an AI image generator, which was a complete slap in the face to me as an artist.
God.
But all of the outputs were very obviously AI. He's begging me to just please do this one, and he will make it up to me on my birthday. But especially after he apparently thought my work was so worthless that it could be effortlessly reproduced by a machine, I'm just really not in the mood.
Wow, it escalated.
He
started digging that hole.
He could have just been like, babe, I'll pay you.
I was about to say,
I'll pay you.
Be like, I'll pay you for your work since this is super inconvenient.
You're right.
You can't. It's hard for you.
Yeah, you're right. This is the last time I'll ask. Let me just pay you, please. I get it. I get it.
I feel like it started where like I didn't think either was the asshole. I was like, he's proud of her. He likes her stuff. He also low key likes not having to buy anything.
Yeah.
And then she was doing it. It kind of worked out. But at one point, I think she should have communicated to him like, can you just not promise people things without talking to me first?
Yeah.
Because I've definitely been in that situation with family where people be like, oh, I promised like 10 people tickets to something.
Oh no.
And I'm like, okay, you have to ask me first. And then I'm an asshole because I can't get it. And they're like, you're putting me in a bad position. I'm like, I never agreed to even be in this position. So I get how she feels.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But she should have had a little more boundaries with it. But it's weird with your significant other because it's fun to be like, yeah, we're getting this and he likes what I'm doing. But this whole last thing, the AI shit is wild.
You literally thought you were going to create it yourself using AI versus just get down on your hands and knees and beg?
I go, here's a pencil, figure it out.
Am I the asshole for saying my sister's family can't temporarily move in with me and my wife due to their pets?
No, don't do this.
I, 30 male, have been married to my wife, Naomi, 29 female, for 3 years, but have been together for over 10 years, and we are expecting our first child together. Naomi is currently 6.5 months pregnant, and I'm not going to lie, but her pregnancy is considered high risk, and our doctor advised her to avoid any stressful situations because of it. About 6 months ago, my sister Kate, 38 female, bought a new build house with her husband Bob, 40 male, so they can accommodate all my nephews who are 17, 15, 7, and twins that are 14 months old. Their house has 6 bedrooms. Extra bedroom is used for Bob's hobby room. Bob is a lot into insects and spiders, so he has a few tarantulas, cockroaches, etc.
Hobby room gives me an ick. If a guy needs a hobby room, like, that's creepy.
You're not into man caves?
Man cave, I think, is different than a hobby room.
Okay.
Hobby room means you're into some freaky shit. The only time you should have a hobby room is if you have a playroom and you're 6 years old and you're playing with Legos. As a grown man, you don't need a hobby room.
But are you okay with a gal having a sewing room?
Yes.
As a hobby room?
Yes.
Okay, so we're...
Because she's creating. She's a woman of the arts.
So we're just sexist here.
She's an artist, okay?
He's a bug boy.
He's breeding shellfish, okay?
Now, on to the issue.
Oh, that was, okay. Oh, yeah. I was already, okay.
Last survey discovered that Kate's house is not safe to live in due to some construction issues. I don't know why it hasn't been picked up earlier, but now they have nowhere to live and have started a legal battle against the company responsible for building to get their money back. Currently, they cannot afford to buy another house or rent as prices for the places for rent are way too high in the area. Due to this, my sister has asked me if they can temporarily move in with me and Naomi. Since Naomi inherited a large house from her parents, it is an older Victorian house that still requires a lot of work. So far, we only have replaced all the windows to keep the warmth in. The house does have enough space for my sister and her whole family, and I said they can move in with us as long as they didn't bring their tarantulas and other insects with them, as my wife is terrified of spiders, to the point of passing out or having a severe panic attack, and Bob has them escaping frequently. Bob refused. This resulted in a massive argument where I was called an asshole for not providing my sister and her family with accommodations at the time of need over some spiders. Am I the asshole?
Okay, this is so messed up, but why did I envision him just like going and stepping on a spider and be like, we're done here. And I literally hate killing insects because I do believe that
spiders are nice.
That they're nice. But this is the thing. You are not being an asshole for not letting the family stay there. You're letting the family stay there. You're not letting the cockroaches and the spiders stay there. Why can't they leave it in that house? It's clearly in the same area. They're saying they need to be in the area.
Yeah.
Go visit your spiders and the spiders should be fine.
I mean, I don't think they need to be fed 8 times a day. Like, you drop some crickets in the bins and like you leave them to be.
Honestly, it sounds like he needs to just keep them at that house. I don't know, obviously, if the house is going to like fall down on itself, but if it's just like a lead problem, I think the spiders will be fine.
Just lead.
Also, we're not even talking about how the pregnant woman, it's not that she's scared of spiders. She has like actual physical reactions.
Yeah.
So I'm protecting my wife at all costs with her unborn baby.
Come on.
And I'm choosing my wife over your insects. And I do respect him, like that he loves something.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I love that for you.
Everyone should have a passion, even if Hannah doesn't think so.
Even though if I think it's stupid. But like there has to be another way. Even if we want the spiders to live, put them somewhere else.
Am I the asshole for suggesting my wife lower her standards so that she'll be less overwhelmed? My wife, 37 female, and I, 38 male, have 3 kids, 12, 10, and 8. She is in a constant state of overwhelm and very easily irritated, constantly complaining about how it's all too much. I, of course, am happy to help and do my fair share for the kids or household, but it's never enough because her standards are too damn high. She insists one of us has to be up at 6:45 every morning to make sure the kids are ready and make the bus, which comes at 7:45. I told her they're old enough to not need that much help already. They can all dress themselves and pour themselves cereal and milk. There's no reason we have to be up. She says that cereal isn't a good enough breakfast. They need something more substantial, especially the 12-year-old, and that the 10-year-old has ADHD and will definitely struggle without help in the morning. And anyways, she wants to see them off and kiss them goodbye for the day. So she gets up. I don't. Then she gets upset that I never give her a morning off when all she needs to do is just take the morning off when she wants and let the kids handle themselves. Also, she's super strict about screen time during the week and is exhausted and snappy from arguing about it with the kids and upset I don't support her strict limit of 2 hours a day. I say as long as homework is done, why not until bed? She says it's not healthy for them. They need to play outside or with games and toys, read some books, just entertain themselves in more ways than one. I agree they should enjoy other things, but not seeing why we have to make such a rigid limit. She also likes to get out on weekends and do stuff like zoos, museums, etc., but then complains about the planning for the outing or how grouchy the youngest gets by the end of it. And again, I say, let's just chill at home. And Viola, you've cut the work. I'm an engaged and active parent. I'm not trying to get out of it, but I don't think I should have to help my wife dig herself out of her own self-created holes. She creates the stress for herself and then turns to me to alleviate it, which I think is unfair. Am I the asshole for telling her she needs to do less and then she won't need this level of help?
Oh, that is a very, very good one.
That's a good one, man. I'm on. For the sounds of it, I'm with this dude.
Yeah.
I'm with this dude.
Really?
I'm with this
Yeah.
dude. I'm with this dude. This is very similar, like to the women I've had in my life, like mum, stepmom, aunties, and stuff like that, which is like very, very rigid. Like this is the way it has to be. This is the best way to do it. But like, bro, you can't do it, and you're depressed and unhappy, and this whole thing is toxic and stressful. Like, it's just not happening. And you just have to charge it. It's just not happening, bro. You're sacrificing your own happiness for like perceived perfect parenting, whatever like that.
I feel like there's so much pressure on women, like to be a good mom.
Yeah.
Like,
so
like
much.
versus like the moms are held to such a higher expectation than a dad ever is.
To be a good dad, you just kind of just have to be there.
And
everyone's
that's the
like, oh my
thing.
God, you're amazing. But
Yeah.
to be a good mom, you have to be like
You have to do everything.
crazy.
You have to be
super
exceptional.
mom.
Yeah.
I, male 27, family, wants me to break up with my girlfriend, female 22, after how she responded to my brother's prank, male 22. I know the title sounds bad, but I could honestly use some outside perspective since anyone else I ask could be biased towards the situation. I've been dating my girlfriend Lola for about 2 years now, and overall things have been great. My brother Ian has always been pretty weird whenever she comes up or is around though. Ian and I are very close, talking to each other daily, but the conversation will usually change change gears right as I start talking about anything Lola related. I thought maybe he was jealous of the time I was spending with her, or maybe a little crush on her. Still, whenever we'd get together, he'd make comments about our age gap, poke fun at me for simping, and joke about her sleep disorder. Ian's always enjoyed a good prank, either pranking or being pranked. He loves to laugh, and I genuinely believe that when he goes to prank people, he means it in a way to share the laughter. When he's tried to pull little pranks on Lola, though, he does things that he figured out triggers her disorder, like making sudden loud noises, jumping out to scare her, and one time I caught him before he was going to do the shaving cream sleep bit while she was taking a nap in the guest room. I warned him in more detail then that he shouldn't mess with her while she's sleeping, as interrupting her regulated cycles isn't good for her, and at the absolute best, she's the worst kind of cranky when she's woken up. Ian looked like he understood, and I thought that was that. I threw a New Year's Eve party a few days ago and invited Ian and a bunch of mine and Lola's friends. Everyone was having a good time. My watch went off with the alarm that we set up for Lola to take a nap. She went off with a sleepy smile, and I kept partying. A while later, we all heard a scream, followed soon after by cussing and something breaking. I panicked as it was from my room where Lola was, and I ran through, nearly kicking the door down, to find she shoved someone down and was yelling at them. I looked to see who it was and saw a spider mask that I unfortunately recognized as Ian's from years ago.
Wow. What a asshole.
I saw him scrambling to get away, but Lola only stopped when 3 of her friends pushed past me to pull her up and check her before she ultimately passed out in their arms. Ian scrambled off of the floor and ripped the mask off, revealing the work she'd managed to do in the time it took us to react. He started bawling.
What, like she hit him?
It sounds like scratches, hits, something. He started bawling, telling me she was insane and abusive, that he only wanted to make sure she wasn't going to sleep through the ball drop.
Oh my God.
At this point, everyone started yelling. Ian looked terrified and kept repeating that she was crazy and that I shouldn't be with someone who could do this to her boyfriend's brother. Some of my guys were yelling that if she did it to him, she could do it to me. All of her friends were screaming about how he should know to leave a sleeping girl alone and how it was creepy. Ian ended up calling our mom to tell him that Lola hurt him, and she's furious. Lola's friends ended up carrying her out against my protest, and my friends were nearly split down the middle. I remember standing there while everyone argued, while the ball dropped, my mother calling me for the 10th time, and Lola finally texting me that she needs space to think. Since then, we've lightly texted. She's expressed that she can't shake her fear of what happened, but she still hasn't told me from her side what happened. Ian and my mom are trying to convince me to break up with her and chastising me for not helping or standing up for my brother when he was being assaulted. And demanding an apology for not playing my part as an older brother. Ian has FaceTimed a few other family members, and now my aunt, who paid for both of our colleges and the house my mom and brother live in, and did help me get my apartment, is taking the 3-hour drive to make sure her boys are okay, which is stressing me out even more. On one hand, I know family is family, and I should do what I can to stand up for people who helped raise me and become the person I am. On the other hand, Lola is my girlfriend. I adore her. I love her. I feel like I should be there to protect her. I don't want to push her boundaries, but not talking to her is a different kind of hurt. Ian is convinced that he was doing a well-intentioned prank and was wrongfully punished for wanting to make sure everyone was enjoying themselves.
You are such a piece of shit. Wow.
I don't know if I believe that, but I've known Ian for 22 years. Growing up, we were inseparable. I don't want to doubt him just because love may be blinding me. How do I approach the situation with Lola? How can I convince my family that Lola isn't a threat? She's honestly the most sweet and caring person. She just can't be woken up, and a part of me feels like she was pushed to a breaking point.
Yeah. Anytime you're going to wear a mask and wake someone up in the middle of the night, that is terrifying. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm already terrified. I have such bad night terrors that if somebody hovered over me with a motherfucking mask on,
I would fight for my life.
Be so freaked out. And to just like turn this into her being this villain and crazy person is so frustrating to me. He told his brother, do not, under any circumstance, wake her up when she's sleeping. That is just a non-negotiable.
I'm blown away by this.